These are the 5 most common triggers that will cause an avoidant to typically want to reach out to you. The first is that when they feel your emotional distance, when you stop initiating, explaining, or chasing them, there's a shift in energy that happens, which makes them question if they have lost you entirely. Because deep down, contrary to what you may believe or people are telling you, this avoidant does actually want to be in a relationship with you. It's due to this avoidant attachment style that has caused them to want to pull away from you whenever you're trying to deal with any conflicts, or maybe you're trying to get close with them, and that's essentially what is coming up and why they are pulling away and making it seem as though they don't want to be in the relationship with you. But when you do that to them and pull away, this essentially causes them to panic because they want to have a sense that they have some type of closeness with you and connections to make sure that whenever they are over this avoidant attachment style, they have the possibility of getting back with you. So when they start to feel your emotional distance, this causes them to essentially panic, and they reach out when they can no longer feel your pull, essentially trying to get them back into the relationship with you. The second thing is when they see that you are genuinely happier without them. When they see you having a genuine glow up or a calm confidence, this will break their narrative, because when it comes to an avoidant, this avoidance narrative that they're running in the back of their mind wants to make them believe that this is on everyone else and nothing to do with them, because that's really the only way that they can continue to do this, despite all the different evidence pointing in the other direction, which is them and this avoidant attachment style. So they have really believed that you need them as much as they need you in their life. So because of that, when you are essentially happier without them, this is going to break that narrative entirely. They can't rely on this anymore and be confident that this is the case, because you are showing them that this isn't the case. So because of this, they start wondering if somebody else gave you that peace and not them. So they will essentially start to kind of spiral, because this is no longer working, and all those different distractions or things that they're telling themselves to make them want to continue this avoidant attachment style is no longer working the same way it would, because they can see clearly that you are happier without them, and that strong belief that they have of this no longer is supported. So it starts to break down and they start to panic. And what's essentially happening here is that your happiness becomes a mirror to them, and they can't no longer ignore the reality that this avoidant attachment style is really the main reason as to why the relationship couldn't work and what led to the breakup in the first place. Number 3 is when they sense you have moved on emotionally. When you stop reacting to their breadcrumbs or their old pattern, this sends them a strong signal that you are no longer going to respond the same way. And as we know, when it comes to an avoidant, they want to try to control every situation and how people are reacting, because that gives them this false sense of control to be able to manipulate things to work the way that they want it to. So by you no longer responding this way, they are losing this power to continue to run this avoidant attachment style and pull away from you, and know that you are essentially going to, like clockwork, try to reach out to them, try to do everything that you possibly can to make the relationship work, in which you were doing this because you genuinely love them and you wanted to try to do everything in your power to essentially get them to see this, but they couldn't because of this avoidant attachment style. So when you stop doing that and stop responding that way, this is where they are sensing that they're losing that power even more, and they're losing control of the narrative that they are trying to hold on, which essentially is you are moving on and you are no longer going to entertain this way of being from them. And what you will typically see here is that they will reach out to you to try to see if they can maybe reel you back in, because they are being flooded by all of these different emotions all at once that they have been suppressing down up until this point. The fourth thing is when nostalgia starts to hit them really hard. They revisit old memories and realize what they've lost, because up until this point they have took you for granted, right? You again had done everything that you possibly could to make this relationship work and try to make them seen, heard, and understood, and show how much you care and love them. And instead of seeing that for what that was, they took you for granted and believed that either one, you were always going to be there for them for whenever they wanted to come back, or two, they could simply move on and find somebody somebody else who would do what you do or even better. And when they realize that they cannot replicate you in another person because you are one of one, that's when they start to spiral and it starts to hit them and they start to see how they took you for granted. And as we know, when it comes to avoidance, they tend to process emotions slowly and things that are happening slowly. So this all starts to happen all at once for them, and all of these different things that they've been ignoring or suppressing down again is going to flood them, and they aren't going to know how to respond to this. And this is something that is going to put them in a frenzy because this is not what they're used to experiencing, and it's very hard for them to run this avoidant attachment style and detach from it and suppress these down, because these are the real emotions and feelings that they're having that's hitting them all at once here. And what you will typically see happen is that the memories of you will grow louder when your silence stays consistent, and that's where you will see them randomly reaching out to you after it's been a really long time since you've reached out to them. And the fifth and final thing is when their ego feels threatened by your detachment. They see your indifference as a rejection, and it stings them because, as we know, one of the biggest fears of an avoidant is rejection, because that's really what they went through when they were younger, right? Their caregivers did not meet their emotional needs in some way or some form, and that was a rejection to them. And because they've experienced that rejection for a long extended period of time, they have adopted this avoidant attachment style to protect them from ever having to go through that. That tends to be why an avoidant will avoid trying to deal with any conflict, because they're afraid that if they express certain emotions to you or how they feel, you might not respond the way they were expecting, and they internalize that as a form of rejection. So with this is what is happening to them, and reaching out is their only way to test if they still matter to you. And that's again why you will see them try to continue to reach out to you, or maybe even like a post, or try to see if there's a way for them to kind of mingle their way back in, because they want to still make sure that they have that connection. And this can be a very challenging thing to go through, because there's probably still a side of you that genuinely loves this person and wants to see if there's a way you can work things out. And while you may have good intentions to want to do that, and maybe their part of them does as well, you don't know if they're going to essentially, when they feel comfortable again, go right back into that avoidance cycle. And that's why you have to ask yourself, do you genuinely want to risk that? Do you want to risk going through this over and over again? And whatever answer that you have, even though it might be difficult, that is what you have to stick to. Because again, you did everything that you possibly could to try to make this relationship work. And this is on that avoidant. They have to essentially realize that this avoidant attachment style has been the main cause as to why the relationship hasn't worked. And they have to then want to seek professional help from a therapist to help them unwind what has caused them to adopt this way of being when it comes to relationships. But that has to be on them. You can't do anything to make them want to do that. And that tends to be why this avoidant needs that separation from the relationship itself, so that they can realize that themselves. And once they're able to do this, they may be able to talk with you again if you want and try to work things out, or you guys may go your separate ways. And that sometimes is the best thing to happen here, although it might be hard to hear this right now. So again, I understand where you're at and how you're feeling is valid, and you have so many conflicting emotions going on, but you continuing to stay distant from this person and giving your time the space to really look at things and understand what you genuinely want deep down is going to be the best thing that you can do. Because the more that you listen to yourself and put all of that energy that you put into them in the relationship back to yourself, it is going to benefit you tremendously in the long run. And you will be healed, you will rebuild yourself up, and when you're ready, you will find somebody who will love and care for you the same way that you did to them, or even better. I hope that you did enjoy today's video. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.